Lindsey, are you there?
Right here, Alex. Thank you.
Lindsey, sorry to get you on a little bit late. What's your take on the Governor Abercrombie who promised to release Obama's birth certificate, now saying they can't find it?
Every bill that Mr. Obama has signed since he went into office will be null and void if it can be proven that he was not a born citizen of the United States of America. I think this is big news, and Alex, I'm so glad that you're bringing it out.
Well, talking to your elitist friends, Ken Fromm, who now passed in December, and then the other Mr. X, who I know who he is, but we're not going to say his name, he's living. What is their view of Obama? Because everything they've told you over the years, you know, about oil prices are going to go up this much, then they're going to go down, now they're going to go up. It's been very accurate and tied into similar info I've gotten from Bilderberg moles. But there was, in the 2008 election, your sources, didn't they tell you, though, that they thought Obama was going to lose? Or were they, or, I mean, what's the story on that?
The one expression that Mr. Fromm gave me one day when we were talking was, he said that our man from Arizona here, he said, he is our man. That's what they wanted, but they have been able to very well control Mr. Obama, but they're in real trouble now, because if this birth certificate issue comes up, everything this man has done is null and void. The health care bill, since he signed it, it has no power whatsoever if he's an illegal president.
Well, that's going to cause a constitutional crisis. We're going to go to break and come back and get into the new information you've been given, how the information you were given 3 months ago, and it was September we had you on. You said it's going to go up to 150, and then we had you on again in December. You said 150 to 200 from your source. You've got new information on the food going up, on the rest of it, and we're going to get to all that. But what is your view of them putting up Chinese flags on Pennsylvania Avenue? That's not done for the British or anybody else. And the media talking about how America's done and China is the new global power. And then the Chinese president talking bad about the U.S. and saying the dollar is a thing of the past. I mean, what's going on here from your inside sources?
We have been betrayed. Now, Mr. Fromm said before he passed away, he made the statement to me one day, you heard me give it on your program back about a year and a half ago. He said, China is the big one. Watch China and Russia. He said, never mind what's happening over the Middle East. He said, don't pay any attention to North and South Korea. He said, the important thing is China and Russia. Watch them.
I remember, yeah.
Literally are being sold out by Washington, D.C. right now. And Mr. Fromm warned me about this back a year and a half ago, that this was part of their plan. And I told it right here on your program.
No, that's right. You put videos.
I must inform your listening audience of what I am hearing in the last few days. And you know, on Sunday when I was with you, I tried my best to give some of the things that I've been hearing just lately. I had, I think, 5 communiques from my other elitist friend last week. Oh, my gracious, the things that are out there are exciting.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to then shut my mouth when we come back, and you just give us the bombshell points up front, and then we'll come back in the next segment after that and get into each one in detail. We'll then backtrack to the previous predictions that are coming true. But then you talked about them maybe taking a back step. I want to quantify that. And then later, before you leave us, I want to get back into where they see China going. Obviously, the muscle to deindustrialize the U.S., the muscle to own our debt. We've been put into this subservient position, just like China was occupied by foreign colonial powers. We're being occupied by the modern colonial bankers who have worked this mischief upon us. But it's all based in fraud. We can stand up any day and say no, but our government's compromised. That's why China's a danger, because they work for the globalists as well. Okay, I wanted to come back and get into the 5 new pieces of info that tie into the past, very accurate info, with this former oil company, major oil company CEO. The former director of operations for Atlantic Richfield, Ken Fromm, his other big source, died. This guy, again, he's talked about both of them in his book written 20-something years ago. This other guy's even more high-powered. And I was asking Lindsey what else he wanted to cover, and he wanted to basically warn me during the break. So I like all this to be out in the public here, and I am aware that we're starting to really reach more people. Tell folks what this high-powered elitist and his wife told you. And then let's get into a boil down of some of the key points you're going to be covering, Lindsey.
Well, Alex, you're you're making an impact. I mean, you're making an impact to the point that they're beginning to sit up and take notice of what you're doing. You know, I've been on the firing line now for 35 years, and 2 different times I've been threatened. One time with my life, and another time my family was threatened. And then, of course, I had to back off on a few things, but I didn't back off on telling all the things I've been given. But you, Alex Jones, and InfoWars, oh, my goodness. You know, sometimes a person's wife will say things that the man won't say. And as a result, I've been getting some communiques here lately about some things that you definitely are doing. Now, there's some other big names out there also that have been there for a long time, but you've stepped up to the plate now to the point that they're beginning to take notice of what Alex Jones is doing. And, folks, I want you to know out there, an Alex listening audience right now, I'm getting from the elite the fact that Alex Jones is making an impact, and they're beginning to watch him real close, as they've been doing me for many years, and such people as Rush and Sean and a few others. But now Alex Jones has stepped up to the plate, and Alex, you are getting major attention. Now, folks, there's one thing you must watch. You probably noticed that gasoline has gone up 6 cents a gallon in the past week's time. Watch crude oil prices, and you will know the progression of the elite. I can't stress enough. You must hear some of the things that I've been hearing lately, and that is the elite are right on time with their timeline. The new Congress has not changed their timeline. They do not have any intentions in changing it. The end of 2012 is their timeline, and I can't stress enough to watch the crude oil prices, and you will know the progression of the elite's program. This is what was told to me back 2 years ago. I gave it on Alex Jones' show. I said that crude oil prices would stay somewhere around $70 to $80 a barrel for 2.5 years, folks. It's not that Lindsey Williams is a prophet. It's just that I have been talking with the elite because of their respect for me of giving 3 years of my life to be their chaplain on the Alaskan Oil Pipeline. Now, you must watch what they're saying. Crude oil prices is the key to noticing. It just started up back about 2 months ago. 6 cents in 1 week's time. And you, every person out there in Alex Jones' show, listening audience, you can watch the price of crude oil. This doesn't take even going to the computer for. Just watch it at the local gas station. And this is the sign that Mr. Fromm gave to me that you will know the progression of what they're doing. Now, last weekend, my wife, my son, and I went to the grocery store. Oh, my goodness. You bound to know what's happening there.
And again, you predicted through them, Lindsey, all of this. You said 2.5 years ago, now 3 years ago, when oil was at 60, it's going to go to 150. It did. Then when it was at the peak, you said now it's going down to below 60, probably 40. Went below 40. Then you said now it's going to run up to 70 for the next 2.5 years. But then when it starts up, look out. Everybody go out, have a good time now, enjoy your trips, your rides, because when it starts going up and this is what the former head of operations, Atlantic Richfield, and the other guy, even higher level, were telling you. Please continue.
Yes, you are going to see $150 to $200 a barrel. They want it to go to 200. You're going to see at least $150 a barrel at the gas pump if they have their way within the next 6 to 9 months. Crude oil prices, you're going to see gasoline at the gas pump go up to $3 to $4 a gallon. Now, this is going to show up, and it's already beginning to show up at the grocery store. Last weekend, the family and I went to the grocery store. I try to keep stocked up at least 6 months to a year on certain things, and I noticed that my bathroom tissue was down a little ways. That's something you better have. It's kind of hard to use the old Citizen Robot catalog. They don't have them anymore. And I noticed that bathroom tissue, now, a very well-known brand, I won't name it, had gone up $3 in 1 week. It went from $6 to $9 for the big pack of bathroom tissue in 1 week. Now, it's not that the bathroom tissue went up in price. The bathroom tissue did not increase in price at all. Folks, are you hearing this?
Real interest rates, not the fake ones they have on the news, are skyrocketing right now.
Yes, the bathroom tissue did not go up in price. The dollar decreased in purchasing value, and that's exactly what Mr. Fromm told me back 2 years ago. I came on Alex Jones' show and said it. He said you're going to be so poor in 2 years you won't be able to do anything about it. You are seeing massive inflation now.
All right, Lindsey, stay there. Let's talk about the newest communiques from Mr. L. We'll just put We'll leave it at that. Stay with us. Long segment coming up. Lindsey Williams. Lindsey, please continue. I want to get more to China later, but the latest communiques, the stuff that he has told you, and how that ties in with what Ken Fromm was telling you on his deathbed, and then integrating that in with your statement to me off air that this other oil company executive, even more high-powered, who you've been interviewing and talking to for years, now he's really spilling his guts to you because we're getting so close to it. And the fact that he, quote, he comes from a little different perspective or angle. Quantify that. You've got the floor.
There positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. Folks, I beg of you, listen to everything Alex Jones says. He's been trying to tell you this for years, and I verify everything he said there. And it's by the providence of God. I must give him the glory, Alex. Please, bear with me a second. I got to give God the glory for all of these things that I have been allowed to know over the years. And it's by the providence of God that I had the privilege of having the confidence of some of these people, two different ones especially, and as a result, I'm able to tell you what I'm telling you today. Now, qualify, yes. The other individual who has been willing to give me information, I guess sometimes families are pretty close, and oftentimes you get more from wives than you do from their husbands. And some of them are very concerned. You'd be surprised about what even they are doing.
Oh, most of them are running to third world redoubts.
To give me some things. Now, please, notice the expression, and then I got to qualify it. No shortage on the grocery store shelves. You're finally beginning to see this. I know. A lot of you have been saying, oh, we're going to have a shortage of food and food and food. No. You remember that I was told a year and a half ago there'll be no shortage on the grocery store shelves, but you will go hungry. Why? Because you won't be able to buy it. Now, listen to these things. You can see them for yourself. Number one, listen to the grocery store shelves and the prices as they go up. And secondly, listen at the gas pump. Please. Listen to that gas pump next time you fill up your vehicle. It went up 6 cents in 1 week. Gas did not go up. Did you catch that? Gas did not go up. The purchasing power of the dollar went down, and they're still giving OPEC $50 a barrel in purchasing power because the dollar is deteriorating, and that's exactly what this head of state of China has said to us. He let the cat out of the bag. He said the dollar is going to be not the world currency anymore. And you're hearing it. Again, listen to gold and silver prices. Folks, if there's any way, there's some buzzwords you've got to listen to. The national liberal media is their mouthpiece. Hollywood is their perversion. And then there's Alex Jones out there who is telling everything exactly what they're doing, along with some of the other talk show hosts now beginning to say things that I said 20 years ago. They're finally beginning to come around and say it. Listen to my elitist friends. I beg of you. You know, there are very few people on the face of the earth who, by the providence of God, have been given the privilege of knowing some of these people as personally as I have over these 35 years. Please listen to my elitist friends and what they're saying, because they're telling you 1 and 2 and 3 years in advance everything that they're going to do. And Alex is bold enough to allow me to come on his program and tell you, you have to listen to the 3 hours of information that I just recorded on 2 CDs. Please do. And by the way, Alex, I am increasing it 1. You remember last time I was on your program, I said you must do 12 things immediately.
Yes.
I'm increasing that to 13. You must do 13 things. I have had to add this last one. Here it is. You positively must take care of the physical needs of your household. From what I've been given by my elitist friend just in the past week or two, I've added this one. You've got to find a way to take care of yourself medically in your home. And this is the first time I've ever given this on the Alex Jones Show today. Listen to the voices of the elite, and you will know why you positively must begin to take care of your own house.
Well, Lindsey, this is sounding, let me stop you for a minute because I want you to go on. This is sounding, I ran into a lady who, I'm not going to go too far into it, but one of the richest women reportedly in the U.S., which isn't really true. The people they advertise as the richest are mid-level. But I looked into who she was, found out that she was indeed one of the richest women in the country, you know, owned a defense company. I mean, the list goes on. And she said, this was 3.5 years ago, she said within 4 years, there will not be, she said within 3 to 4 years, there will not be a United States. And I said, what does that mean? And she, and you know, maybe she got spooked. Maybe you know, she got scared, but she was running off to the Cook Islands and leaving. And then I saw the news articles after that about elites and rich leaving and, you know, the Bushes and everybody moving to South America and all the rest of it. And a lot of the richest Jews in Israel are leaving Israel, by the way, and going to London for some reason. And so what you're saying is, I mean, having to have your own medical care at home, that sounds like Road Warrior level collapse or something.
30% of America's doctors plan to quit if Obamacare goes through. I was at the dentist. My wife was at the dentist the other day. He's probably one of the most leading dentists of the Phoenix Valley and Scottsdale area. And he had just been, he gave me this personally. He said, I was just with the most prominent dentist, specialized in dental work in his area. He's been in the business now for some over 50 years. He's not a young comer. And he said that this dentist friend of his, and he had dinner together, and he said, if business doesn't pick up. Now, people don't have to have dental work done. They can have that tooth hurt. They don't have to have cosmetic surgery. Because of the economy being in such bad shape, people are not going to the dentist as they did. This most prominent dentist of the Phoenix Valley said to my dentist friend just the other day, he said, if my business doesn't pick up by June of 2011, that's this year, by June, he said, I'll have to close my office. I can't stay in business anymore. If Obamacare goes in, they're going to give them much less than what they're getting right now. 30% of America's doctors plan to quit. If it goes through, folks, you must begin to take some action to take care of yourself.
Well, we told people 4 years ago that we told
a friend of mine, he was playing racquetball, and after he got through, he passed out. They rushed him to the hospital. He didn't have any choice because that's what they automatically do, call 911. When they got through with $3 days, of strenuous examinations, they had him a bill for $34,000 just because he passed out at the racket court because he had taken too much of a health drink prior to it, and it caused his heart to do something funny. But listen to the rest of this. They brought him in and they said, we notice you don't have insurance. And they said, rather than take a chance, they said, this is in your area. This happened in Dallas, Texas, by the way, Alex. And the doctors in the hospital said to him, okay, if you will pay us $5,000 right now, either check or cash, before you leave the hospital, we will count that as paid, and here's your bill for $34,000. Pay $5,000 right now, and we'll take it, or $34,000 if you don't pay before you leave the hospital. Folks, you can't depend on public hospitals any longer. There are things in the wind. You've got to prepare yourself for your family's medical needs, Alex. Well,
I mean, did your source say that, or is that just from your own research?
No, you mean this I gave you just then?
Yes.
Well, that was Stan Johnson. You know him. This happened to him last week in Dallas, Texas. I mean, you can call him up on the phone and ask him.
No. I'm saying the medical system, the medical system falling apart. I mean, was that warning coming from your Mr. X?
Yes, I have been warned by this new elitist friend of mine as to what's happening as far as the medical system is concerned. He has talked to me at length about the medical system, and of course, the dentist that I mentioned just a moment ago is Dr. Hoskins here in the Phoenix Valley. I mean, these people are saying we have troubles in the medical system, and if Obamacare goes through, Lord have mercy on us. You definitely, I have put down as number 13 now in the list of things that you positively must do within the next few days. I mean, you can't wait any longer.
All right, I want to expand on that.
The have told me there are 13 things that you must do immediately if you're going to spare your house heartaches, and one of them, the one I've just added, you've got to begin to take care of your own medical needs. Alex?
All right. I want to just back up and point out, we know what the globalists do in third world countries. They implode. We have the 112-part IMF World Bank shock therapy order that they internally give countries. That was leaked in 2002, such a key point I talk about routinely. And they then give them economic orders that they know will further implode the economy. You could cut all government services and never pay the foreign debt off that's made up on the derivatives because you don't really owe it. But they implode the economy, raise the taxes, all the money goes offshore to enrich the globalists and our new Chinese owners teamed up with the private Federal Reserve. So all of that goes on, but we're already seeing it. Detroit, they're announcing they're going to get rid of half their schools. But you say, well, that's just Detroit. All over the country, Iowa, Ohio, California, you're hearing about 30%, 40%, 60% of the sheriff's deputies or police laid off. And the cops say, we're not going to respond to crime now. All we're going to do is raise revenue for ourselves. And some are honest. They say, buy guns to protect yourself. Others say, and don't let us catch you with a gun to protect yourself in your house. But some are honest and say, get guns. And then when citizens go out and buy guns, the media comes out. I've actually seen this on MSNBC. It's up on Prison Planet, and says it's racism to buy guns. It's secretly for black people. Well, black folks are buying guns too. I mean, this is crazy. You don't want government health care, you're racist. They just throw these buzzwords out that have nothing to do with it. But absolutely, China is building 300-mile-an-hour trains. We haven't repaired our rail lines in over 100 years. When my grandmother was going to college, she would take the train from East Texas getting her master's. She went to Baylor for her her regular four-year degree. When she was getting her master's in education, shooting down to Houston, part of the week, she took a bullet train from Teague, Texas that went over 100 miles an hour. So she'd get down to Houston in like an hour and get back in an hour. Now the trains can't go above about 45 miles an hour because the tracks are so bad. I mean, America is like in reverse here. Go ahead.
Yes, listen to Congressman Alan Grayson. He's from the House of Representatives. Now, I'm trying to give you things that you've got to listen to according to what my elitists are telling me. You've got to listen to what Alan Grayson said about MBS, mortgage-backed securities. I was told, and please, folks, listen, I don't want to keep tooting my horn, but these things were told to me by my elitist friends back a year, 2 years ago. They said that if they have their way, when they have their way, that the elitists of the world are going to own every piece of mortgage real estate in the United States of America, both commercial and residential. And I gave that on Alex Jones' show back a year and a half ago, when the MBS mortgage-backed security thing had not even come up as a major issue. Now, Alan Grayson came out. He's a member of the House of Representatives in Washington, and you've got to watch him on YouTube. He came out and said the identical same thing that I was told back a year and a half to 2 years ago, that they will take over by way of the Federal Reserve and ask you as the American people through the Treasury to give to bail out mortgage-backed securities. And when they do, through the Federal Reserve, you'll be making your house payment to the Federal Reserve, and I was amazed. I sat here in awe as I watched Alan Grayson say this before the House of Representatives. He said exactly what Mr. Fromm said to me back a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was utterly appalled. You will be making your house payment when they have their way and all this is settled in. You'll be making your house payment to the Federal Reserve. Every piece of mortgage real estate in the United States of America will be taken over, and this is a part of their plan. And now, even some congressmen are bold enough to come out and say these things again. Yeah,
too big to fail is their program to purposefully implode everything and then come in as the saviors and collectivize it even more and then tell us that China is our owner. It's just absolute high treason, and the media is telling us we're lazy, it's our fault. I've studied it. This country, a small part of the debt is the chicken feed entitlements. The real 1.5 quadrillion.
It's one of the first things I learned when I lived with these elitists of the world for 3 years' time. Money is not their question. Some of these people were so wealthy they could have written a check for $1 million a day the rest of their life and never spent their wealth. The name of the game is control, and people say to me so often on talk shows, why would these elitists of the world destroy their own country where they live? They aren't destroying their country. They are bringing the country to its knees. They bankrupt everything from the airlines to the railroads to what Alan Grayson talked about on the floor of the House of Representatives the other day. They bring it to its knees so they can buy it for pennies on the dollar, and they let you as taxpayers finance it through the Federal Reserve, which is a total sham. No more than the Federal Reserve, no more part of the federal government than Federal Express is. And in the end, they're going to own every bit of this. This is their end goal, is to bring the entire system in America and much of Europe also to its knees so that they can own it, control it, and then over a period of many years and maybe a few lifetimes, they'll turn around and bring it back to the position it is right now under their control. They aren't destroying their own country. They are buying their own country through the Treasury of the United States of America, through the Federal Reserve, and you are going to give it to them. If you sit there much longer, you and your children are going to be slaves to the elitists of the world, and these people have been warning me of this now for the past number of years. Alex?
Stay there. I want to talk, Lindsey, about how we counter this, other things that the other Mr. X, Mr. L, as I call him, has been telling you. We'll be right back with Lindsey Williams. My website's Infowars.com. Williams is our guest for another 20 minutes or so, maybe 30. I want to go to Alicia, George, Nancy, Angela, Lee, and others that want to talk to Lindsey. And Lindsey, I know these people's names. I know who they are. I knew who the other Mr. X was before he died of cancer. I know who the other person is, and his wife, who Lindsey worked with on the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline. He's good friends with her, and he's really creeping me out because he just told me, he said, listen, they brought you up and said they know you're having a big effect and the elite are watching you. They brought you up. I didn't bring you up to them, Alex. It is creepy because I've got to do what I'm doing. And you know, I'm not perfect. I'm a worldly guy. You know, I pray every day that God keep me on the straight and narrow, but I don't willfully join in evil. I don't like what the globalists are doing. And it's so ruthless what they're doing. And Lindsey, we're also saying that the elitists you talk to are a little bit freaked out as well. Because it's one thing to be part of this corrupt system, but as it nears its fruition, and as this world satanic government is about to be openly born, this eugenics government, in their words, of mass death and evil, I've talked to a medical doctor. I know the head of state she's treated. And this head of state said, I'm freaked out about what's about to happen. Lindsey, repeat to the listeners what you just told me.
You sure you want me to say this over the air? I mean, this is interesting. Alex, I guess the best way to punctuate this is to say misery loves company. Of course, I've known these people for a number of years, and they've never brought you up. But all of a sudden, you seem to be coming up in some of the emails I'm getting. And I know as a result that you're making such a major impact out there right now on the whole nation. You know, here a while back, we traveled across the country, and I would pick up on the motorhome, I'd pick up your radio programs from here and yonder. I mean, you really are impacting the nation.
No, I understand, but I mean, specifically, it's creepy. It's creepy to have them talking about, you know, they're examining me, and you yourself have gotten death threats. I've gotten those as well, but not death threats from these guys. You got death threats from the other fella. But, I mean, specifically here, I know you're holding something back on me. I mean, you say they're bringing me up. I mean, in what context?
Well, they're bringing you up in the fact that you're making such a, okay. I don't know whether it would be millions that you're reaching or whether it would be the impact that you're making. They didn't necessarily talk about the things that you're saying, even though I'm sure that that's the bottom line of the whole thing. But as I say, misery loves company. I'm glad you're out there now so that we can all keep company together in them knowing who we are and listening to what we said. They're listening to your programs. They're monitoring you. And I'm getting, next time I get one of these emails in which you are alluded to, I'll ship it off to you and have your producer give it to you. I'd like you to see what they're thinking about you.
Well, I appreciate you doing that. I don't like having to confront David Rockefeller or have others on that do it. I don't like having to talk about the Pentagon and Halliburton and DynCorp caught running child kidnapping rings. But, I mean, if you don't speak out against them, it's approval. And I can't have that on my soul on who I am, I couldn't sleep at night. I mean, I do little things, and later my conscience eats me up. And I just can't help it. And I don't like that I get death threats. I don't like that my family's in danger and all the stuff that I've had happen. But I don't really talk about it on air. But I mean, I've got to be against these people. I mean, I don't know any other way. It's just what they're doing is fundamentally wrong, Lindsey.
Well, it sure is. And 35 years ago, when I had been a pastor of a church for 12 years, and then I went to Alaska as an aviation missionary. I'd been brought up in a wonderful Christian home with godly parents, never exposed to anything like the dastardliness of these elitists. And I sat in their board meetings for 3 years' time and listened to what they had to say. And Alex, when I got through, I felt such a moral obligation. But yeah,
exactly. Stay there, Lindsey. Stay there. We're coming right back with phone calls. Finish that up. You know, you read the Bible, and it talks about the spirit of certain cities, how cities had a wicked spirit, or they felt bad. The prophets would feel oppressed upon entering them. And I remember in Sunday school not really understanding that. And I was just talking during the break about Jaron's like, yeah, I don't like going to the zoo. It has a bad vibe. And you go to the animals aren't happy. You go to Los Angeles, and everybody I talk to, I mean, it has a, I know we're actually on in Los Angeles, not bashing you. I mean, I love Malibu and the beautiful coast, but there is a oppressive vibe. Some people like it that I've run into, but very few. I mean, there's like a spirit of evil. And when I look at China and I see the things they do, and I watch their party meetings on YouTube, I mean, this is, and I know their works are so wicked, and I see the works of, and also D.C. has a horrible vibe. I mean, these are evil cities because they have evil in them. And, of course, at a spiritual level, how would you quantify that from a Christian perspective, Pastor Williams, what I'm talking about nations being turned over to evil, cities being turned over to evil? You know, as a Christian, you would say, and I would say, this isn't just that there is a feeling in the city from the, you know, group consciousness, the group collective, the group subconscious, as psychologists believe, because, you know, they certainly pick it up as well. They try to quantify it scientifically. You would say there's actually a demon over that city, wouldn't you?
Yes. China's Mao murdered more people than Stalin did. And yet we want to go and trade with them today and bring that spirit back to the United States of America. I mean, we're cutting our own throats. They don't want to trade with us for the sake of being able to necessarily just sell us things. Now, I don't know, this sounds strange, but they want our technology. Every single time Caterpillar, General Motors, anybody else goes over and builds a plant, they say, give us all of your patents, give us all of your technology, or we will not let you build the plant. It's not the trade with America that they're interested in. They're interested in the technology, and once they get it, they'll turn around and throw it right back in our face, just like the Japanese did. We gave them all of our steel prior to the last war, and they turned around and shot it right back at our soldiers. We're going to have the same thing out of China, mark my words. And Mr. Fromm said to me back nearly 2 years ago, he said, Chaplain, don't pay any attention to all of these other countries of the world. He said, even when there's a conflict over there in the Middle East, which, of course, by the way, you've heard me say they want it in the next few months' time if they can get it, to take attention off things. He said, don't pay attention to that. He said, that's not the real issue. He said, the real place you want to watch, and these are his exact words, he said, China is the big one. Folks, watch what's happening in China and Russia, and we are importing that evil right to America. Alex?
What did he specifically say dealing with China? I mean, just that they're going to take us over or be used as the muscle or a war?
Well, basically, they're going to take us over. I don't think there'll be necessary. He never. Okay, I'll put it this way.
Well, you know why they're taking over?
War with the United States of America.
No, I mean they're taking us over.
North Korea is concerned. He did mention the fact that they basically will take us over. They will get all of our technology. They'll get everything from Boeing. They'll learn our stealth bomber secrets. They'll learn all the things they can by getting Caterpillar and General Motors and everybody else to go over there. They'll get our computer technology. And then once they've gotten it, they'll say, to hurry with you, we don't need you around. After all, if Mao murdered that many people years ago, more than Stalin, they wouldn't think a thing in the world about stealing all of our technology and then dropping us like a hot potato and turning those plants. Listen, I watched them nationalize things many years ago when I was pastor in Florida. I watched the Bahamas nationalize all industry. I mean, Owens Corning had a huge farming venture out there. It was worth billions, probably. I used to see them fly out in their 707s on a regular basis when I was out there for seminars. And then the Bahamas turned right around one day out of a clear blue sky for no known reason and said, Americans, you don't own this. We never gave you the right to have it. They took over every single bit of it and ran the Americans out. The Chinese will do the identical same thing. Once they've gotten all of our patents and our technology, they will nationalize everything, including the industry that we've sent over there, in total bankruptcy by the time they're finished. Mark my words, you cannot do business with a nation that has the background and history that this is. But there again, you've got to realize where all this started. George Bush Sr., Daddy Bush, was the ambassador to China many years ago when China was a totally closed society. Nobody got in and out except him. And George Bush started every bit of this. His son finished it up when he was in there. And now today we are seeing new world order, global trade, all of these agreements, and it every bit started with Daddy Bush many years ago.
Well, I agree with you, but he was known as the Rockefeller Republican. He was the direct legate or gopher of David Rockefeller, who praises Mao in the New York Times, many other publications, even after it's known that he's the greatest mass murderer in history. And he was dispatched there. They signed the eugenics agreement for the one-child policy. They were then given unlimited funding, and the CFR said, you will now be given all the power. They are going to use China to bring the United States down. And people are like, well, we have this big military. They can't. The criminals run America. The criminals run this country. And the Republicans and all of them have been bought off, just like with Ron Brown was going to get in trouble, Commerce Secretary, for taking Chinese bribes, and he was going to go public, and they just blew his head off on board that airplane and then remote controlled it into a mountainside. And the coroner even went public at the Air Force, and they said, we don't care. I mean, this country, and go back to 1979 when they gave up the Panama Canal, and then Republicans went ahead with it. Why would we give them something we built? Because America isn't run by America, okay? That's what you got to understand. I want to go to phone calls, Lindsey. We're going to go to 30 after, but I want to go to Alicia, George, Nancy, Angela, Lee. I also want to tell folks if they want to call and get your elite in their own words, very powerful 2-CD set that breaks all this down. It's 888-799-6111, 888-799-6111, or prophecyclub.com for any of my films. The Fall of the Republic that breaks all this down on DVD, Infowars.com. Or the Obama Deception gets into the same area. Endgame covers what their endgame is after they've had the takeover, if they're successful. This isn't just going to be, working for the Chinese. This is going to be, you're poor, so you don't get food rations unless you're sterilized. And it's all being proposed.
Alex, you're exactly right. I want to punctuate what you said just a moment ago after I finished up with what I said about the Chinese. They have talked with me over the years about what they're going to do. Little pieces here and little pieces yonder. And the conclusion you've just come to is exactly right. Everything you just said. And in my 6 DVD set, please, I beg you to get the latest CDs, but my 6 DVD set, I go into this in detail as to what these people have told me over a 2-year period.
No, but I mean, just to condense it,
about China is exactly right.
Just to condense it, though, eugenics, sterilization, China is the beta test. They submitted to the eugenics plan. The Chinese leaders for 50, 60 years talk about, please nuke us. We hate our people. I mean, they hate their population. They're at war with them. They're just big, fat, bloated ticks that just suck off their people and use them as slaves. And the globalists are using the Chinese slaves to destroy our industry. And now we're going to find out, all of you yuppies that laugh and sent me thousands of emails over the years about how great China is, enjoy it. Enjoy it. You're going to be just like the IBM engineers 15 years ago that would laugh at me when I'd be at the local pool, community pool, or the Dell engineers. I'd say, they're moving to China. The plan's to get rid of you. And then they'd laugh. And then years later they go, I'm not laughing now. My replacements are here. I got 6 months and I'm gone at half pay. And people say, oh, that's free market. It's not free market when taxpayer-funded Chinese are trained in engineering at our universities and then sent over there to work in slave wages. It's a giant tariff on us. I'm done talking about that. Let's cram in some calls. I'm going to skip this break here, and then at the end, I want to get into the gold predictions from Lindsey Williams. Alicia in New York, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex and Lindsey, for taking my call. Thank you for everything you do in fighting the New World Order. Berkey, customer and Prison Print subscriber. I have two quick questions. One question is, are you going to say all 13 of those items online and on the phone? And another one, is there a way that the elite had given you any way to help us prove that he's not a natural-born citizen? His father was British. Is there any...
Yeah, did this former oil company CEO say anything about Obama's providence, where he really came from?
Mr. Fromm himself never mentioned that subject at all. He did say that Obama was not necessarily their man, and I kind of dropped off of that because then he became president, so they didn't get their way. Now, this new elitist friend of mine that's been giving me information lately, yes, he has gone into this. In fact, he sent me a number of emails relating to Mr. Obama. And listen, Obama is not necessarily doing everything they want. And they get a little upset at him. And I was told that he better watch his step by Mr. Fromm. But yet on this latest communiques that I'm getting, I don't know what might happen. You know, I just hope to goodness that nothing happens to Obama, because I don't want to make a hero out of him. And the last thing in the world that anybody should ever do is touch this man. That is a wrong thing to do. The elite are a little upset over some of the things he's doing.
Well, they asked a human rights question during the press conference, and the media acted like that was wrong. And how dare that reporter ask about, and it was a whitewash question anyways, you know, hey, why do you murder political dissidents and sell their organs to U.S. companies? And, you know, it wasn't a real question. And it's like, how dare they ask something of the gracious, bloodthirsty dictator? It tells you about our government that they don't criticize mass murder anymore. I mean, literally, a Hitler is in America, a Stalin is in America. I mean, they are just murdering people by the hundreds of thousands every year still over there. They have giant slave camps everywhere. They lock a third of their population up every night in giant prison cities. I mean, that's mainline news, and our media says, that might be a good idea. Alicia, good to hear from you. George in Connecticut, you're on the air.
Yeah, God bless you both. I have a idea. I mean, why shouldn't we use the Alexandrian principle? Instead of going after the body, go after the head, as he did in his arm and when he attacked people. Why not go after the elitists? If they want communism, let's confiscate the one percenters, everything they have. Confiscate all the oil properties in the United States, and only can be used within the United States, oil and gas.
Yeah, well, that's not the communism they want. But I agree, if we took the top tenth of that top percent, the billionaires' money, and start going, okay, we want communism, instead of like WikiLeaks, CIA run, clearly is about to release 2,000 Swiss bank accounts of people that got 50 million, 100 million. No, let's not burn mid-level, low-level folks that the globalists want to gobble up into the tax thing and then give it to themselves by burning nouveau riche. Let's take the wealth of the Rockefellers. Let's take the wealth of Ted Turner. Let's take the wealth of Bill Gates. Let's see them actually go for that. No, that's not what they want. And that's not going to happen. Lindsey Williams, what's your view on that?
Well, yes, and look what China is buying. They're buying all the gold mines, all the silver mines. They have, okay, people oftentimes ask me, the elite, as you knew them, do they control China and Russia and countries like that? Positively they do. Let me say emphatically, they do it a little bit different way over there than what they do it here, but you can see that the elite are importing all this gold and silver right into China because they know whose hands it's falling into.
Absolutely, and they finance China to then go in and grab up 90+% of rare earth minerals. This is being done strategically, and then, quote, U.S. companies don't do it because they've moved to China, and just like all the other big companies are moving to the Middle East where there's no extradition. What they've done is so dangerous that they are all bunkering down. Okay? I mean, folks, I cannot stress that enough, that Lindsey's absolutely right. Anything else, George?
Yeah, then demand that the greenback come back, and also demand that all these free energy devices, hydrogen fuel for cars, I've seen this all over the thing, and also the Tesla things come out. We'd burgeon into a new society. We would just bloom if we just did this. We get
exactly. The elite spend all their time trying to suppress the total wealth generation of the modern industrialized society. That's what Karl Marx admitted. He said there'll be so much wealth and so much goods, people will work like 1 hour a day. But that's what communism was created by the bankers, to block that, because they have to restrict wealth with artificial scarcity and restrict technology. They are monopoly men. They thrive on poverty and disease and death. Great points, George. Quick comment on that, Lindsey Williams.
Yes, exactly. And watch China. All they'll do is take every bit of this and turn around and gobble us up. All they're waiting is to get all of our technology so they can do what they want to. They're getting our gold and silver now. How much are they buying? I'll give you that in a few minutes. Be sure and take notes whenever I give the part about gold and silver and what. Well,
just break it down now, because we're almost out of time, and I want to get to Nancy, Angela, and Lee and others. Go ahead. Break down the gold now.
Yes.
Lindsey, is your phone cutting out? Go ahead and cover the gold briefly now.
Okay. This is so important because back over 2 years ago, I was on Alex Jones' show, and I was frustrated. I was utterly flabbergasted one day when I was on the phone with one of these individuals, and I said, how am I going to be able to protect my family in light of all the things that you've just told me that are going to happen? And he said, Chaplain, there's only one way you can do it. He said, you can't do it with real estate, you can't do it with stocks and bonds, you can't do it with anything written on paper. He said, you can do it with our currency. He said, it's the one thing that'll never be touched. And I said, what is your currency? And they said, gold and silver. I said, what do you mean? They said, we don't trust paper. And this was the expression, if it's written on a piece of paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. And I said, do you mean buy gold? Well, I begged you back then when you could buy it for $700 an ounce for gold and you could buy silver for $10, $12 an ounce. I begged you to go and buy every piece you could get in your hands. I'm sure you wish back then you had listened to my elitist friends, not to me, but to them. Okay, here is what is happening right now this week. COMEX Silver Exchange. They were forced into admitting just a few weeks ago. Now, they're the ones that hold the silver for the super wealthy, either China, Russia, super wealthy of the world, and they give them a piece of paper saying we have it in our vaults. They were forced to admit that they have on hand only 107 million ounces of silver, yet they have contractual obligations for 720 million ounces of silver, and some of the people who had them holding that silver for them got wind of this, found out that it is true, and on Friday, the 7th of December, or 7th of November it was, wait a minute, I'm sorry, it was the 7th of December, 4 individuals, not dealers, demanded delivery of 1 million ounces of silver, and it put the COMEX Silver Exchange into a tailspin. As a result, here is what has happened. Listen to these figures, folks. If you think $30 an ounce is high for silver, you haven't seen anything. Listen to what just happened. During the month of December, the U.S. Mint sold, now, please note these figures, write them down. During the month of December, the U.S. Mint sold 2,221,000 ounces of silver. This has never happened before. At an all-time record for the men of the United States of America. Something very scary is happening because in January, that's right now, the first 12 days of January, that number surged by 50%, and the United States Mint sold, for the first 12 days of January, 3,407,000 ounces of silver, more than sold during the entire month of December, because everybody's buying it. They're doing everything. The Chinese, they're getting their hands on all of it they can. Why? They see what's about to happen. This fits in perfect with this Chinese dictator's presidency in the United States of America. There's no telling what kind of deals he's cutting out there that we don't hear a thing about. Folks, I asked this gentleman, I said, what can I do to protect my family? He said, there's only one thing you can do. He said, you've got to get gold and silver, because when the new currency comes out, you can take that gold and silver and exchange it for the new currency. And he said the old currency is going to be devaluated to the point you're going to lose most of it.
And by the way, Lindsey, to interrupt,
stress to you, if it's written on a piece of paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. And he said to me, if you want to protect your family, you've got to use our
gold and silver.
That is gold and silver, Alex.
Lindsey, you know, the interesting thing is Hu Jintao would not be saying the dollar's a thing of the past. Here's the AP headline, who U.S. China must respect sovereignty. That means letting them take over in the East. They're getting bases right off our coast. I mean, they're moving into Africa, South America, Central America, Mexico. Now they're going to build the high-speed rail in the West Coast. I mean, it's just incredible that China has been empowered and invested in by the globalists. No regulations, no nothing. More regulations on us. And then Obama plays this little shell game like Bush and Reagan and all of them did, where they are always talking about China's got to fix its trade imbalance when our country's run by the main corporations that have moved over there. They're not going to get rid of that trade imbalance. It only gets bigger every month. This was their plan. This was their stated modern mercantilism, which, of course, the French invented and the British used. For those who don't know what mercantilism is you don't let your colonies produce finished goods. You only let them produce raw goods so you can keep the price real low, rip them off, not let them ever accumulate wealth, and then take it to a central country that you choose to have value added put into it, or finished good, and then that keeps your enemies deindustrialized. One reason for 1776 is you weren't allowed to have a factory. You weren't allowed to put the metal end on a wood piece for a shovel. That had to be done in England. And they had taxes on everything. Look, this is all old. They do this over and over again. And China's been chosen as the main factory to shut everybody else down. And we're going to keep Lindsey Williams. We're going to keep going because I want to go to break, come back and take a few final phone calls with Lindsey. But the way Hu is crowing and chirping and saying really aggressive things, which they never do. Even when we were, in the Cold War, when dictators were coming over here, they wouldn't shoot their mouth off before they came over. And once they were here, I mean, he's been told, rub it into the Americans, train them, break their will. We're sticking our hands down their pants. We're putting telescreens in. We're transferring over to authoritarianism. We're going to grovel and say your tyranny's good. Literally get up on top of them, mark your territory. You know how a dog does. And that's what they're doing. I mean, these are bloodthirsty, power-tripping murderers the world has never seen. As people as evil as Hu Jintao. And our government just says, we love you. That tells you the government is pure evil. Our government is pure evil at the head. Wake up to that. Phone calls here with Lindsey Williams. Again, we really appreciate Lindsey joining us. Who's up next here, John? All right, I'm going to rampage through 4 calls, and we got to go. And so quick questions or comments. Appreciate them holding. Nancy, Angela, Lee, and Felix, that'll be it. Nancy, you're on the air worldwide. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Lindsey. I just have a question for you, Lindsey. If your elite friends are giving you all this information, then they must want it to be made public. Is that correct? And if they do, which side are they on? Are they on the elite side or are they on the people side?
You are correct in your supposition. One of the things I learned when I lived with the elite was that they have a code of ethics, and one of the facets of that code of ethics is they must tell the world everything they're going to do before they do it. They know the coverage that Alex Jones has. They know I'm on Alex Jones' show on a regular basis. They listen to Alex.
It's voodoo. Let me just interrupt, Lindsey.
I'm saying, bet you this, they feel a moral obligation, according to their moral code. They feel an obligation to get this out, but the world is the only thing I can understand. And then they'll turn around later and say, we told you so, why didn't you listen?
No, exactly. That's why 8 years ago, the outgoing head of the Federal Reserve, he wasn't even outgoing then. Greenspan kept talking about irrational exuberance. When he'd gotten rid of Glass-Steagall, when he was the author of so much that happened. He was an anti-New World Order, pro-gold and silver guy in the 70s and was very popular and hung out with Ayn Rand and, the Ron Paul type crew. And he sold out to the dark side. And here's the deal. It's the vampire code. I'm not saying they're literal vampires. They're psychic vampires. A vampire must trick you to invite them into your house. So they'll show up, not bearing their fangs at night, and knock and say, I'm a neighbor. Mind if I come in? And you've got to say, you are welcome. Or the vampire in mythology all over the world, this archetypal, and they use allegories for these archetypal things to explain it to people. But whether it was Greece or Japan or the Mesoamerican Mayan culture, the vampires always came and said, do you invite me into your home? Am I invited? And it's a trick, but they've got to do it. It's like their religion, and you've got to say, yes, you are invited. Once you've let them in, and it's a spiritual thing. It's like Lindsey said, we've let the spirit of China in. We've underwritten it. We've confirmed it. We will now go under it. We will now live as they do. Once you submit to something, once you join with it, it's kind of like Saruman in Lord of the Rings is saying, we must join Gandalf with Mordor. It is, the new age is upon us. And he says, since when did Saruman the Wise, give up reason for madness? And that's what this is. They are all over the news. We must join with authoritarianism. It's good. We must join with the torture. And so a lot of these people, too, even though they've been high-powered, they still are dual. They don't like what's happening, but they like the power, plus they're in it to survive and win. I'm sorry, I'm going wild here, but, explaining their psychology. And so they enjoy it. It's an entertainment for them, like a cat has a mouse playing with it before it eats it. But they also believe almost in like a demonic chivalry. And what do they do in chivalry? They say, on guard. On guard, on guard, on guard, I'm about to attack you. On guard. And so they're saying, on guard, we're going to set up world government and kill you. On guard, here's all the Rockefeller foundations. We're putting poisons in your vaccines. On guard. And then they say, look at these idiots. We tell them we're killing them, and they still won't stand up and fight. They want to die. They are profane. And then elitists call me and say, off record, can we talk? And I'm a journalist, a person. I don't, betray confidence unless it was of a specific crime. Then I would have to. And they say, Alex, the general public wants to be slaves. Don't you understand? You have to join with the New World Order because we understand that. We're moral. We actually work together. The profane, they don't. This is all Illuminati type stuff, folks.
Alex, you're exactly right. I lived with these people for 3 years, and it took me 3 years' time to even comprehend the mindset of these people. And I wrote 3 books trying my best to help the American people understand the mindset of the elite. It's very difficult for the average person to understand that there could be somebody so diabolically wicked that they would control nations and currencies and tell OPEC what to do and tell the president what bills to put through in Congress. But they do. People, please believe what you're hearing Alex say right now. I lived with these people, stayed in the dorms with them, sat across the dinner table from them, and everything you just heard Alex Jones say is true.
Well, Lindsey, we better get to a few more calls. I wish it wasn't true. But it is. Reality is reality. Thank you, Nancy. Hope that answers your question. Angela in Louisiana, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. Yes, I'm calling with a couple of questions. My first one is for the currency. When the currency is going to crash before the new world currency comes in, will our currency, anyways devalued, we will be able to purchase this new currency with our dollar?
They're going to continue to slowly devalue it over and over again until they offer a new currency as a way to get out of the old currency that's been wrecked. And they're starting to say they're going to blame it on a false flag internet attack as if it all happened overnight and tyranny will protect us from this ever happening again. And we'll still have dollars. They'll just be denominated and controlled by the IMF, World Bank, OECD as the new Bancor, which is a digital currency transcending the nation, now will be fully beholden to the offshore central banks. Lindsey Williams.
The only way that you can maintain the purchasing power over your present currency is to buy gold and silver today, immediately. You should have bought it 2 years ago. But if you didn't, you got to go down and get it. Right this minute, listen to who advertises on Alex programs and buy from them. Why? Because I have been told, and I'm telling it to you, you can take that gold and silver. It'll have the same purchasing power, the same value, even though gold and silver is going to go up $3,000-$4,000 an ounce, silver is going to go up to $40, $50, $60 an ounce, but yet you can turn around and trade that for the new currency, whatever it may be, world or whatever it may be, and maintain your same purchasing power, and that is the only thing you can do it with. Your dollar is going to devalue so rapidly from this point on, you are going to be startled.
Well, Lindsey, that's what's so frustrating about this is that I get emails every day going, why do you want me to go to Midas Resources and buy gold and silver if my Federal Reserve notes are so worthless? And then they giggle like they've made some big point. It's like a 2-year-old, you know, being able to say the letter A and being proud of it. But it's not cute because they're even wrong. It's like a 2-year-old looking at the letter A and saying it's the letter C or the letter Z. They don't understand. Obviously, the currency as it's devalued that's then manifested by the gold and silver going up in the overall price, not because it's gone up, but because the currency has now gone down. And so by
this past week, 6 cents out of every dollar at the gas pump. You lost $3 last week on toilet tissue at the grocery store. I know I went to buy it. It had gone up $3.
No, inflation's accelerating.
The only thing that changed was the purchasing power of the currency. You lost 3 cents at the gas pump. You lost $3 in the grocery store.
No, I know, but Lindsey, it's like they're under a trance. Just finishing this simple point, you just made it beautifully. But to quantify it, because I see this so much, and I'll see it on YouTube, and people try to explain it to them, and they just don't get it. We take the Federal Reserve notes, Midas Resources does, buys gold at whatever price it is, and then with any little meager profits, run the network, or with profits, buy gold for ourselves and silver. I mean, that's what I do. You know, as my emergency backup. I only promote what I believe in. But these people think, why do you want my Federal Reserve notes if they're not worth anything? That's still the global currency. So you take that and you buy gold and silver for yourself. And then as the currency's devalued, your gold and silver will reflect whatever the new currency's value is. And so it freezes the value of the labor you put in to get the energy credit symbols that are those Federal Reserve notes. Now you're putting it into a real commodity that transcends the fractional reserve banking system, so that now you are freezing your wealth against inflation. It may actually go up, may go down a little, but overall, it's freezing it. And I don't understand how people can't understand this, Lindsey. I mean, it's almost like they're under a spell. I have family. I have family. I have family that, and I want you to comment on this, who I told 10 years ago, buy gold and silver. They laughed at me. You know, when silver was $5, gold was $260. I have family that when it was $500, they laughed at me. When it was $800, they laughed. When it was $1,000, when it's $1,400, they cannot buy it. They must do what the stockbroker says. They must lose money. It's like being an idiot. They see it as a cloak of power. Being conned is the smart thing to do. Can you? I mean, is that just given over to delusion?
No, they are obsessed with the stockbroker and with Wall Street. And what the national media says to them. Listen to me. Abraham trusted in gold and silver. Moses trusted in gold and silver. If you're a Christian, go to your Bible and see what the streets of heaven are paved with. For goodness sakes, look where God's value is. It's definitely not in Federal Reserve notes and pieces of paper. And I'll say it over and over and over every time Alex lets me on his show. I'll probably say it. If it's written on a piece of paper, it's worth the paper it's written on.
All right. Anything else, Angela? We got to go here in just a minute, and I appreciate you calling. Anything else?
I just wanted to know if Lindsey had any new information. I live on the Gulf Coast in South Louisiana. If he heard anything more about the Gulf.
Okay.
If you know if it's still spilling.
Okay. There's all sorts of leaks still down there. They fractured the ocean floor. Correct, Lindsey? They're just covering it up.
Yeah, they did fracture the ocean floor, and the core exit is the most dangerous part. And in a lifetime, we'll never get away from the danger that's been done by it. And yes, there's still a lot of information coming out. It's just that they have shut up on the media talking about it whatsoever. But yeah, it's still there.
All right, got to move quick here. Real fast. Lee in Kentucky, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Brother, how you doing?
Good.
I got a quick statement and a quick question. My statement is, as a veteran myself, I just want to say that I feel very betrayed by my country. First-time caller. I've been listening to your program for about 2 years.
Lee, it's not your country. It's been taken over by foreign banks, and the Chinese are their muscle men that they've brought in to be our owners.
Well, you're exactly right, and I want to salute you for serving on the front line and fighting this battle for us for so long, and my prayers will be with you and your family. My question is for Pastor Williams, does he have any, matter of fact, for both of you, do you have any time frame as far as when you think this new currency will be issued? Will it be through a banking holiday? And one other question for the pastor is, with a one-world government and a one-world currency, we also will have a one-world religion or church. And does he have any news or information as far as that goes?
I've been given a date. I was given it back 2 years ago, and I gave it again every time I've been on Alex Jones' show. The dollar will be dead by the end of 2012 if the elite have their way. Please, I beg you to put that down beside your calendar. The dollar will be dead by the end of 2012. As far as the world religion is concerned, I covered that in about a 20-minute segment on my DVD set, and when I talked about the devil's Messiah, oh my goodness, Alex, you were fascinated by this one day on your program back about a year and a half ago when we talked about that they had used an expression to me one day, the devil's Messiah. Now, this goes all the way to Europe. The European Union, so many preachers have been tricked into believing that that's the 10-toe kingdom of the Antichrist. And as a result, it went up to 11, 12, 13, and 14 countries that joined it, and then the preachers were totally embarrassed. This is what the elitists love to do over a period of time. Watch the European Union. The euro will eventually crash, and from the time that the euro crashes, you've got 3 weeks. Please hear this. You've got a timetable here. I'm giving you a buzzword or a warning. Within 3 weeks of the time you see the euro crash, you've got to get out of paper. If you don't, more than likely you'll lose it.
All right, let me comment on what Lee said. Then we're going to go to Felix, come back and do a few more minutes, and I will play the ultimate red pill to end the hour because I promised to play it, and we've been getting requests for it. And again, Pastor Lindsey Williams is our guest. We are live. It is January 19th, Wednesday, January 19th, 2011. To answer that question, folks, they're not going to get rid of the dollar. You're not going to go to the bank one day and get, silver money or something or blue money, though they are changing the colors to get you, and they admit, to get you ready for changes down the road. The dollar will no longer be the global currency, just like the peso never was, never will be in Mexico. Just like the ruble never was, never, is probably going to be. The dollar has been the only global currency in history. Before that, it was silver and gold. Didn't matter if you were in Japan or in Russia or in England or the U.S., 235 years ago, everybody knew what a silver or a gold coin was worth globally. Okay, and everything was denominated in that. And if you were buying little cheap goods, it'd be denominated in copper or other metals. A penny, you could go in 230 years ago with, 2 pennies and get a, decent, bowl of soup with your beer or whatever, at the local pub in England. So all of that's going on. You're going to have a global cashless system where the post office is already denominated in international freight because we ship worldwide here. It says SDRs. Okay? And that is the new global currency. It's already in operation. And the basket of the SDR is IMF, World Bank, receivership collateral, and now they're saying the Chinese currency, and they're saying we're going to completely abandon the dollar. So they're not just saying it's going to be a basket. That's been the transition. The dollar's gone. So then it devalues like a peso. Then we go to a new dollar that's SDR backed, but instead of being controlled by the Federal Reserve, it's only a regional arm of the banking cartel. It's directly controlled by the OECD at Brussels. Okay? Directly by Europe, who controls and finances China, who controls and finances Russia. The whole system. And they've always hated America because we got liberty here. They want to destroy us and hang up patriots by our necks and take our guns. I want to thank Pastor Lindsey Williams for being with us as well. Lee, I heard the pain in your voice saying, I feel betrayed by my government. Our government was taken over. I mean, we don't have the republic. It's not the government doing this. It's hijacking criminals who are up in the government saying if you're a conservative, a libertarian, if you don't like torture, if you don't like tyranny, if you don't like open borders, you're an enemy. And these terrorists are going to stage terror attacks and blame it on us, and they're going to try to come after us. The good news is we've woke up too many people. They're not going to, they may have most of the public watching porn 24 hours a day and getting drunk and acting like little kids. A lot of us aren't little kids and aren't a bunch of decadent slobs. That doesn't mean I'm perfect, but, want to eat a big steak and watch a football game and drink a bunch of beer. The point is, we got to get focused, all of us. We got to get serious. Real fast, Felix in Texas. You know what? I'm out of time. I can't even get to Felix because I've got to get to this video. Felix, I promise next time Lindsey's here, you'll be front of the line. Lindsey Williams, I've got to go now, but I will talk to you very, very soon. ProphecyClub.com with all your great material and information, our books and films and materials, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. We've only got about 20 seconds, Lindsey, but just want to hear your voice and say bye. I appreciate you joining us today.
Set your spiritual house in order. If you don't remember anything that I said or Alex said today, set your spiritual house in order. Get out on your knees and settle your relationship with Jesus Christ before you do anything else. Know you're born again.
Absolutely. We're out of time.
All of these other things.
Lindsey, we'll talk to you soon.
Have your house.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Look what happened to Israel over and over again when they became decadent. They were conquered and went into bondage. It happens to every country. God bless you, Lindsey.